Hello and welcome to the Finding Your Soulmate workshop. I'm Steph and this is module 4, Happy Ever After. So I'm going to start with a really cool concept that will answer a lot of questions for a lot of you. Maybe like me, you've been through this situation before. This is a concept John Gray calls rubber banding. And let me explain what happens with rubber banding. So you've met someone somewhere and things are going awesome. You think that he is the one. You probably even slept together. And just like you may have met his family. And he's so much fun. Everything's clicking. There are sparks. Like, it's wonderful. And then out of nowhere, he just starts acting distant. He's not returning your calls very fast. He is not responding to texts the way he did. He is not feeling like going out, or he feels like going somewhere else without you, and your heart is breaking because you thought this was the one. And what in the heck is up? What did you do? So John Gray explains that this is basically a guy freaking out at the seriousness of the relationship. And he explains that all hope may not be lost, because if this is the right person, if you keep cool and occupy yourself otherwise, he will get to the end of his rubber band and snap back to you. So that's good news. And everything else that we talked about previously, particularly in module 3, will set you up for handling rubber banding, because it is a really difficult thing to handle, and it can be. There can be guys that will pull away and keep on going, but if they do, good riddance. And if you set up everything like we talked about in module 3, it's probably not going to happen, because you will not have gotten attached to somebody who is bad for you, probably. So here's my story of rubber banding. So I was finally doing things right, and I was dating, and I was going out with my husband, but not exclusively. But we were going somewhere and riding in the car, and he started telling me how he had heard on NPR a story about some Scandinavian country and how they had high levels of cohabitation, and that it was very successful, and that people were very happy with it. And he said that that was really what he wanted for himself, not to get married again, but just to find someone to happily cohabit with. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I respect that, and that if that's what you want, that's what you should do. But I know what I want, and it's not what I want. I want a happy relationship. I want a happy marriage. I want to eventually seriously date someone and have a relationship that's going in that direction. So if that's what you want, it's good to know that, and we can be friends, but I'll keep looking. So we went to the event, and then we were driving back, and it was a really quiet drive back. Like, that was a heavy conversation. And then we got to his house and he pulled into the drive and into the garage, and he paused and he was like, you know what? I've been thinking about it. And I had set my rules, so he had been practicing all the chivalry and everything. So he's like, let me take you on a tour. And he jumps out of his seat, goes around the car, opens the door for me, takes my hand, and takes me on a tour of our house. This very house. And he said, welcome, I've been thinking about it, and this is our garage. And this is our entryway. And that room up there, we could turn that into a room for one of your daughters. And welcome to our kitchen and our living room and our bedroom. And just takes me by the hand and takes me on a tour of our house. And that was a major turning point. It was a really beautiful thing. And he is a beautiful man, and possibly if I hadn't done things the way I learned from John Gray, it might have been okay. But probably that rubber banding experience that took 2 hours could have gone on. And I know from past relationships, and I think in the past relationships, they weren't the right person. But because they weren't set up correctly, I felt very insecure and I felt very clingy because I had given too much and I didn't have other options. It wasn't like, cool, I'm not in this thing completely yet, I have other options. It was like I gave too much in those other situations and they weren't even the right person. So that was a major turning point, and it was the result of me learning how to set those expectations, to identify what I wanted, and to not settle for less. I'm not saying that marriage has to be the end goal for everyone. Maybe you don't want marriage. Sometimes, like, as you get further along in life, like, it doesn't make sense because of assets and whatever things, and that kind of sucks that it's like that. But no matter what you want, being able to identify that clearly, set that standard up there, communicate it, and not buy in until you know that you and your person are headed in the same direction. Like, it's powerful to be able to set it up that way, and it eliminates a lot of heartache. Because when somebody rubber bands, you don't know. Like, I have a friend that went through this too, and her person rubber banded, but thankfully we were reading this book, so for once we were like wise to what was going on. John Gray advises, like, just when that happens, take care of yourself. Go out, if you like getting your nails done, go out and get your nails done, get your hair done, buy yourself a new dress, go out dancing with your girlfriends. Like, treat yourself really well when you're going through that. And if he is the right person and he's into you, he will bounce back. He'll be like, wait a second, why isn't she calling me? Why isn't she messaging me? What's she doing? Who's she talking to? Then it will work. So even in that situation where he took me on a tour of our house. Surprisingly, we hadn't even slept together yet. And I hadn't agreed to be his girlfriend yet. So it was a little bit more time, just a little bit, before that happened. Because, I mean, him taking me on a tour, that was like a pretty big declaration that, hey, he was willing to go on the path with me that I needed to go. And I think all along he wanted that, but like, things happen, people get hurt, and guys get scared too. So just identify, if you want marriage, you can have marriage. And like, I didn't know, but marriage doesn't really have to be a lot of hard work. Yeah, you will go through things, but if you find the right person that complements you, it can be a joy, and you can be a support for each other. Like, I just think it's one of the most beautiful gifts that we can have in this life. So that's why I'm excited to share it with you. But even if you don't have that official title or whatever, because of whatever your circumstance is, you can still have an amazing relationship. You just have to decide on what you need. So what is your goal? For me, I mean, it's possible you could. I think that this structure really helps the odds of you being successful. For me, sex was a big commitment because, as I said before, like, it really can confuse the situation. For me, I communicated to my husband that when that happened, when we turned the corner to our relationship becoming sexual, that I wanted him to understand that it was a commitment, that this was like a commitment saying that we were committing ourselves for the long term. And I don't really know, because like, for me, I just trusted that the physicality would work. I don't know for other people, like, what if you're not sexually compatible? I just like didn't worry about that. And you know what? We are. and I think like a lot of times, like, a person has to own their own sexual satisfaction. Maybe that's another course. But our sex life is really good. And, you know, it takes time to grow. But, you know, your first time with a person, you may have experienced this, may not be the most amazing, but as that intimacy develops, like, it can get better and better. So I don't know, it could be just, everybody has different things that they need and different preferences. It could be that you have a sexual relationship and you're not getting what you're needing. But I think in a lot of cases, like, if you really like this person and you're attracted to them, that the sexual department will work out for you. I would guess that there's a pretty high percentage. So from the time we went there, we knew that we were going someplace. In our case, we knew that we were going to get married. So engagement, I actually did move in with my husband. I mean, we were practically engaged because we've already made this agreement and everything, but I was living in my house across town and it was fall, and I never had mice in the house, but all of a sudden 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and there was like this gnawing in the walls all around me. And I was like, oh, heck no. Like I'm like pounding on the walls, and yeah, it was crazy. And the next day at work, I called an exterminator, but I also brought my girls over to his house, and we all bedded down there that night, and we've been here ever since. But my oldest has moved out, but this has been our home ever since. And he said he planted the mice in my house. So so eventually, like, we packed up that house and sold that house, and then we've been here ever since. We weren't officially engaged at that point, but moves me on to engagement if that's something that like you want to do. John Gray talks about how like it's a really special time, like a magical time, and I think that it is. For us, we knew we were getting married, and he wanted me to have a ring that I really liked, and he's not good at shopping, so he hates shopping actually, and this makes it all the more impressive. So for about 3 weeks, we consistently went out ring shopping until we decided on one, and it was actually like one of the first rings we looked at, but then I had to decide that like that was okay and that was what we wanted. And then eventually after 3 weeks we did, and we had the ring. And then we invited our families over and had a party, and then staged the engagement. We knew we were gonna get engaged, but he was still really nervous. That's the funny part. And I went and I had an ice cream cake made that said, "Yes, Steve, I will marry you." And I put candles on it. And so he got down on one knee and asked me, and I didn't realize that he would take it as mean, but I was like, oh, hold on a minute. And I went and got the cake and lit the cake, so that took a little minute. And meanwhile, I guess he was sweating bullets. And then I came back with this like blazing cake that said, "Yes, Steve, I will marry you." And and he was like really relieved. And yeah, that's how we got engaged. And we have some really adorable photos with our families, with my girls, and my oldest was really instrumental in picking him. Actually, when we were still friends, I don't know, I was like, I don't know if I recommend this, but in this case it worked for us. I was like, well, we're friends, and so it's not a big deal. It's not like I'm introducing my kids to my boyfriend or whatever. So we went to the fair together, and my oldest like just loved him from the start. Just climbed up on his shoulders and rode all over the fairgrounds with him. And later, she just flat out told me, she's really good at manifesting, but she's like, "Oh, you're so hung up on that ex-boyfriend, but he's a jerk, and I want this new guy as my stepdad. He's awesome." And so, you know, out of the mouth of babes, like, she had a lot more relationship wisdom than I did, and eventually I let it sink in. So we were engaged for a while. We went to premarital counseling for families, because we have a step family, five kids all together, and that was not easy, but still, being married to him is awesome. I mean, I'm not saying that you're not going to go through hard times, like, it's life, but being with your person by your side and being a team just like makes it so much better. So yeah, we had a blended family with 5, and at one point we had basically 5 teenagers, and it's crazy. And we still have like a lot of teenagers, and we still have a lot of people that we have to launch into the adult world together, but we work on it together. a fairy tale in an imperfect world. It's okay. We gotta embrace what we have and love this life. So we got married in the typical month, June, and it was a nice wedding. It rained like crazy. Good luck. I had to keep it small because he's an introvert, and he was just really relieved that that was over. And here we are, over 10 years later from when we first met. And it's good. And I'm here to tell you, if you have bad taste in partners, I think a structure like this will work for people who are gay or lesbian or trans as well, because it's about setting expectations. It's about not giving your power away. But I'm delivering this right now for heterosexual women, but I'm interested in how in the future I can help everyone. So I will be looking into that. But you can have a happy ending. I didn't know it for a huge part of my life. I didn't meet him until my mid-30s, and I didn't really know that fairy tales are possible, but like they are. Isn't that cool? They are. It's just that we don't know how to set those expectations and those goals and those boundaries to get what we need. So I hope that this structure will really help you. And I am excited to help people find their people, because it's like the best thing here on earth. I think it's one of the best things to be able to find your person. So if you want help finding your person, I am offering coaching to do that. So if you want additional help, I mean, heck, I did it with just the book, and I did it with help of my friends. And if you have other friends that can help you, I think our friends and family are important resources, and sometimes they're the voice of truth and sanity when we're not thinking rationally. So you can do it without coaching, but if you want coaching, I can help you, and reach out to me, and we'll set something up to help you find your person, because I would love to help you do that. But I hope that these videos are an awesome resource for you. And once again, if you have not read that book, it is a great book that really, I don't know if I'd have my husband and the amazing life that I did if that book hadn't healed something inside of me and showed me what was possible. So I'm so thankful for that. I think that John Gray has passed away, but bless him. At one point, there were people who are doing like what I do right now. I don't even know, there was like some sort of school or programs where people could be trained as counselors and teach his methodology, but I think that's fallen by the wayside, and he has passed away. But these principles are still really important and powerful, and happy relationships make the world a better place. Personally, they make so much of a difference in a person's life. But not only that, they are stability that supports the rest of the community. So I would just like to hope people find their person and make the world a better place in that way. So if you need to, watch this a few times, read the book a few times, and if you want help, reach out to me. I'd love to help you. All right. I love all of you beautiful ladies, and I am wishing you the world and a lifetime of happiness. Fairy tales are possible.